the big boys play.
I love this shit.
Good to have you.
Oh, it's so loud. Okay. I love this shit. Okay. Why do I love this shit? Because what's the main reason why Iran's toll system is a major burden from an American perspective? Obviously, number one, it shows that Iran actually has a full military dominance over this choke point, this strategic choke point that's very important for 20% of all the world's energy supply to flow through, right? Impeding on that in any way, shape, or form, or exercising control over that directly contradicts why America is supposed to be the hegemon, right? That's one. But the other reason is because that strategic choke point being controlled by Iran and stopping most of the tankers that would normally transit through freely is destroying the global energy markets and is going to lead to unprecedented shortages and also inflation. As I've said already, oil and gas is a global commodity that everyone needs, and there is inelastic demand. So therefore, if one place doesn't have oil, then it impacts the global market prices across the board. So for Donald Trump to turn around and decide, oh, you're doing a blockade? Well, guess what? We're doing a blockade on top of your blockade is only going to make the crisis worse. Because if Iran is saying, oh, we'll let all the ships go through as long as they pay us a toll, and then America turns around and says, nah, we're fucking blocking them. It's incredible. It is unbelievably stupid. It's an unbelievably stupid thing for him to do. It's hilarious as well. It's a very funny move. A very dumb move, but also a very funny move. Respect to Donald Trump. Really. Indeed, Trump's Hormuz play is a classic jiu-jitsu move. If the Strait gets blocked, America will be the one doing the blocking, not the RGC. Oh, God, these guys are so fucking stupid. They're so stupid. Look at the conservatives. The blockade always made more sense than seizing Karg Island. It stops Iran's exports, its revenues, is a counterpoint to their closing of the straits. They may attack Gulf oil facilities, but it puts greater pressure on Iran, also puts great pressure on China to pressure Iran. Conservatives last week, Trump is doing an amazing job opening the Strait of Hormuz. Conservatives this week, Trump is doing an amazing job blockading the Strait of Hormuz. Amazing. Okay? Fucking amazing. Trump announcing that he's going to beat Iran at his own game by blocking the Hormuz even harder.
May Allah awaken the people and help them to see the evil doings of Israel and the United States.
Who could forget the classic jiu-jitsu move? When your opponent is beating your ass, you start punching yourself in the face instead, and you go, ha ha, I wanted my ass beat to begin with, sir. That's what this is. Classic jiu-jitsu move, okay? That's what happens when you're engaging in hand-to-hand combat and you're doing jiu-jitsu, okay? And your opponent is choking you, so you go, well, I'm holding my breath. I'm holding my breath myself. Ha ha. 12D chess. Never let them know your next move, baby. Ah, you didn't choke me. I choked myself. Joke's on you. I think he's joining the other team. That's JD Pondom, baby. Put some respect on his name. Put some respect on it. Okay? You can't fire me. I quit. That's always the last desperate attempt by Donald Trump. Whenever things are going south, he goes, ha, I fucked it myself. Okay? Joke's on you. I wanted the situation to be worse. Now, obviously, there are some negative consequences here, right? And there will be some limitations to what Trump can and can't do. We shall see if he actually follows through on this, because almost the entirety of Iranian tankers are being shipped to China. So will Donald Trump take a stance against Chinese flag tankers that are delivering oil and gas to China. Remember, even before the last 42 days, I believe it was 80% of all Iranian oil and gas that was directly going to China, right? Iranian oil is not a major part of Chinese oil. Now that percentage has obviously increased since like no ships are transiting through the strait as it stands currently. But most of Iranian oil was going to China anyway. So is he going to start duking it out with China? Because that feels kind of dumb, especially right now when America is at its weakest point globally, both with its soft power utterly destroyed by Donald Trump, weirdly enough, but also its hard power capabilities have taken a significant hit by a country that is much smaller than China, by a country that is much less powerful than China. Okay? China is a nuclear country, a country with nuclear arms. China is the manufacturing engine of the entire planet. You can't really do what you have failed to do to Iran to a country like China. You can't do it. China could with much ease, punish America and maybe even punish the rest of the fucking globe if they wanted to, right? Without even the threat of nukes, obviously. So, regarding Trump's threat/decision, Trita Parsi says, why does it say Trita Parsi search? Anyway, to impose a naval blockade on Iran, color me a skeptic. Taking more oil off the market, particularly the only oil that is now getting out of the Persian Gulf, will drive oil prices further up. And the paper price of oil will get closer to the actual price, which should be around $150 per barrel. So that literally, again, you can't do that. The whole reason why you wanted to open the Strait of Hormuz was because of what's going on in the oil markets. Okay, so that's incredible move by JD Pandon. Brilliant, sir. He is truly the real revolutionary, the real green energy champion that this world needed. Okay, many of you don't understand. He doesn't think in decades. He thinks in generations. He thinks in centuries. The Trumpian mind cannot be comprehended. Okay, he is Mr. Eco-terrorism. It turns out some of y'all have only watched movies about how to blow up a pipeline. Trump is quite literally doing that. Okay, so who's the real woker now, bitch? Donald Trump is forcibly creating an environment for that renewable energy transition for every country. Respect. Put some fucking respect on his name. He is the GOAT, okay? Don Zoo. So, a dramatic increase in inflation in the U.S. will ensue. Avoiding this is precisely why Trump was stuck in a position where he had no escalatory options out of this conflict before the ceasefire. He still doesn't. Stopping tankers carrying Iranian oil wouldn't just be an escalation vis-a-vis Iran, but also against the countries that are buying Iranian oil, which includes China, India, and other Asian countries. I doubt Trump is ready for that escalation, particularly given the upcoming summit in Beijing. This is true. This is also true for punishing countries that have negotiated a toll with Iran for the Straits. That includes Pakistan, which hosted the negotiations. That's probably secondary. I don't think America gives a fuck about, Pakistanis being mad at them. Sorry. No disrespect. I know I come across a little jealous because Pakistan was the table, okay, as opposed to Turkey, which is the normal position, right? But that's not, I'm just being serious about it. I think America is very selfish and also doesn't care about, Pakistan's interests at all. Number 4, the naval blockade escalation will make the closing of the Red Sea more likely by the Houthis. That would take another 12% of global oil flow off the market. We would now be looking at oil at around $200 per barrel. There are 9 or so days left of the ceasefire, since neither side has explicitly stated talks won't resume or that the ceasefire is dead and over with. All these moves should be treated as tactics and threats within negotiations. It wouldn't be surprising if these threats are walked back soon, perhaps before markets open on Monday and a new round is announced. However, there is time for brinksmanship and there is time for serious negotiations. Galibaf also had a fucking line on this too, but we'll get to that in a second. If the U.S. truly was insisting on zero enrichment in Islamabad, which was not Trump's red line at first, but rather Israel's, then the next talks will be rendered a failure, just as the talks in May 2025 were killed by Trump shifting to the Israeli red line. Still, I don't think that necessarily will lead to a return to war. A more likely scenario is a new non-negotiated status quo in which Tehran retains control over the Straits but doesn't get any sanctions relief while the U.S. pulls out of the war, and the question becomes whether Israel will continue the war on its own. This is a likely scenario. Okay? Which, of course, in the interim, will allow Iran to gear up with the latest and greatest Chinese technology as well, from manpads to, anti-air defense systems and the like, and therefore will present a much more competent force that is capable of defending its own territory from aerial bombardment campaigns that Israel could conduct without American help. Not really sure how much Israel will be able to defend itself. Don't really see that happening, even though Israel is crazy like that. Okay? China is not sending any air defense to Iran. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I know that the Bloomberg report is questionable, but we'll see about that. You never know. You never know. Esfandiar, this guy's really good. The only explanation I can come up with for Trump's blockade of the Strait of Hormuz is that he desperately wants the U.S. to be cut in on the future toll revenue. A few things to consider. By definition, a blockade does not reopen the strait. Iran had already blockaded itself by closing the strait to most vessels in the first place. The oil exports Iran was sustaining do not create significant revenues because of U.S. sanctions. If revenues were the issue, Trump would have canceled General License U ahead of the April 16th deadline and issued new sanctions targeting Iran's Chinese customers. Arguably, the blockade announcement puts more pressure on the Gulf states than it does on Iran. No Gulf country had called for a blockade, and I suspect the announcement came as a complete surprise. The terms that Trump will insist upon to end his blockade and the terms that Iran will insist upon to reopen the strait may be similar. Now, two countries are trying to demonstrate their control over the strait, leaving the GCC and Iraq in a compromised position. Here is... the chairman of the Israeli Parliament National Security Committee and a member of Netanyahu's coalition. Well, I guess he deleted his statement, so we don't know. But I think his the attitude from the Israeli side is, dude, enough yapping. Come on, ceasefire over. Let's go fucking bomb Iran, right? That's what the statement was that he deleted hastily. But I can totally see that being the overarching sentiment in the Israeli Knesset. Right? Because they did not want the ceasefire to take place. They tried to spoil it by doing a heinous act of terror against Lebanon, killing 300 Lebanese civilians in a matter of 10 minutes. And then they never really stopped, right? They never really stopped with their ambition. America was like, yo, keep it cool, keep it chill. Yeah, this guy, chairman of the Knesset National Security Committee, Zvika Fohel, mocks Trump. Donald, if you have to shoot, shoot. Don't quack. And then post a duck. Trump called in to Bartiromo on Fox. Oh, hell yeah. Oh, also, the speaker of the Islamic Republic of Iran's parliament, Galibaf, who was at the meetings, said, enjoy the current pump figures with the so-called blockade. Soon you will be nostalgic for $4 to $5 gas. Gas station near the White House. God damn, dude. Again, they're farting on us, okay? Straight up, they're farting on us.
The more
100%. We're going meat for meat, ban for ban on the meme side, and they got a whole lot more meat than we do, okay? Their meat goes a long way in comparison to our meat. They got all the Kubide. We got none. It's crazy. They got the Lego music videos. But it's not alone. It's not enough. They got the fucking, the Iranian ministries, the Iranian embassies all around the world farting on us. And then you got Galibaf himself hiring some fucking Zoomers, deciding to go meat for meat.
I think the two biggest issues are the Strait of Hormuz and the nuclear. The Strait of Hormuz is the more time urgent issue because every day that goes by is disastrous for the international economy and for the region. The nuclear issue can be parked for a while, not because it's not important, but unless there's evidence that Iran is changing the status of nuclear materials or its program, then nothing changes. So I would say Strait of Hormuz is the big issue. What we cannot allow is for Iran to exercise sole control over the strait, charging tolls where it derives all the revenues, because that would also eliminate any economic pressure on the Iranian regime. What I've argued is we ought to adopt the principle that the Strait of Hormuz needs to be open for all or closed to all, including Iran. And what I've recommended with two of my colleagues, Neil Ferguson and Phil Zelikow, is that we create a new Strait of Hormuz commission or authority that would essentially govern the operation of the strait. Perhaps you could have a fee charge, but then it would be distributed, not just to Iran, but to the other, half dozen or so local countries. Might be some degree of enforcement or support from the countries in Europe and Asia that are most dependent on the passage through the strait. I would bring China into the equation because it has influence, obviously, in Iran. But we need some type of a governing authority that dilutes Iran's ability to decide who gets to use the strait. And if we can't get that, David, I would favor a blockade. Again, open for all or closed to all.
This is so unbelievably stupid. Richard Haass, former head of the Council on Foreign Relations, says Washington is not negotiating from strength and that Iran has emerged from the war with greater leverage on Hormuz. He suggests Washington should tell Iran the Strait of Hormuz can be open to all or closed to all, propose the International Governing Commission, including Iran and Gulf states. This is what Trump tried to do. Remember when Donald Trump was like tweeting or truthing, maybe we will control the Strait of Hormuz with Iran, right? Which, for the record, was already a massive L, okay? Because, like, the idea that you are going to beg Iran to cut you in on the toll collection implies that you've already given up, that Iran is controlling the Strait of Hormuz, okay? That statement was unbelievable from Trump. When he said that, that was an admission of defeat, and I covered it as such. Then they presented that as the alternative, and the Iranians, to their credit, recognizing the unbelievable leverage they have currently, said, fuck off. At least that's what it seems like, right? They straight up were like, no, actually, you're not getting a fucking piece of the toll collection. No, we're controlling the strait. We'll open it to all, but we will continue collecting fees. The problem here is they already do control the Strait of Hormuz. You either reopen it militarily or you reopen it through the process of diplomacy. And if America is not going to, talk the talk, then they have to walk the fucking walk. This kind of bullshit about, we're adding a separate blockade on top of the pre-existing Iranian toll, it's not going to work. Not only are you actually positioning your naval assets, for the record, closer to Iranian missiles, right? Because there's that element as well. Like now you're what? You're repositioning your naval assets within striking distance of Iran? Okay, good luck. That's number one. And number two, what are you going to do? Fight against China? It's an unbelievably stupid fucking move. And last but not least, you don't get to actually enforce any control over the actual Iranian choke point. And on top of that, oil prices fucking skyrocket, which was the reason why you wanted to reopen the Strait of Hormuz anyway. Yeah, just 2 days ago, Trump said the Iranians were begging to make a deal and that Iran had no military capabilities left. Yet Iran is choosing not to make a deal and explicitly choosing to go back to war. Not really the move of someone desperate and without military. What this shows me is America wants a deal. Iran is fine with continuing the war, and Israel definitely doesn't want a deal. So if America wants a deal and Israel doesn't want a deal, and you don't get a fucking deal, what does that tell you? That Israel is straight up controlling the entire conversation here on the American side. That's it. That's it. It is undeniable that we are placing Israel's idiotic goals ahead of our own, ahead of the rest of the world's interests. Do you think the rest of the world gives a fuck if Iran collects a toll? Probably not. I mean, I'm sure they don't like it. $2 million in additional funds given directly to Iran. But it is the most manageable way out of this. Instead of trying to get America to pay reparations, you get the entire world to pay reparations to Iran for America's fucking spectacular quagmire. Headline in the IRGC-affiliated Fars news agency, Trump joins Team Iran. I've legitimately never heard of a more insane, designed to backfire policy under this administration maybe ever. Not only attempting to blockade Iranian ships, but any ships that goes to the Strait of Hormuz by paying the toll. I do not foresee this. He said that it starts, CENTCOM says tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern is when the blockade starts. I think Trump goes back on this right before market open, maybe. Like, I just can't see this. I just do not see how this continues. I can't. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Trump is that guy because he is fucking nutty. But all signs point to him, pulling out of that. This genuinely feels, you're wrong, think like a stupid. I mean, I am thinking like a stupid. I'm trying to think like a stupid, but this is just like, there's levels to this stupid shit, okay? There's levels to this stupid shit. Him saying he's going to do this blockade is already stupid shit. Him actually enforcing the blockade, well, that's stupid beyond comprehension. Like, that is a new level of stupid that has been unlocked. Iran Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf responds to Trump, if you fight, we fight. And if you come with reason, we will deal with reason. We will not succumb to any threat. Let them test our will once again so we can give them an even greater lesson. Once again, I feel like these guys don't understand that the people that they're talking to there, Ghalibaf and the legal counsel representative and Arakshi, are the ones that want to fucking negotiate. Most of the people who actually control the levers of power in Iran currently are not those people, okay? They want to keep going. They, understandably, don't feel as though they've dealt a significant enough blow to both Israel and the global markets. They want to keep blowing shit up, okay? You got the 25-year-old Hormuzers sitting around in this mosaic system in a fucking bunker for the past 40 days, lobbing Shahed drones nonstop, thinking, all right, give me the fucking go ahead. I'm going to hit that button again. Okay? Clearly, they're like, I'm going to Hormuz. I'm going to fucking Hormuz. I will die if I don't Hormuz right now. Okay? That's it. They are clearly invested in continuing until there is sufficient military deterrence that has been established. Iran and Thailand, the Thailand embassy says, the new move from Trump against our country is so comical that we don't even have a meme for it. So Trump is helping Iran now? Yes. All right. let's get back to, the U.S. foreign policy establishment supports Trump collapsing the global economy. Strategic defeat has made the U.S. ruling classes insane. They'll drag us down with them rather than have their beloved empire take the L. Okay, Trump is now a vessel for the foreign policy blob that he ran against. Dennis Ross, former negotiator, says the blockade always made more sense than seizing Karg Island. It stops Iran's exports. Like, they literally went from Trump is going to reopen the blockade, reopen the Strait of Hormuz. He's going to do it with our military might. We got our hardest dicked Marines coming in. Okay, how are we going to do this? I don't know. Maybe we'll take Karg Island. Maybe we'll take other islands. How will we do that? I don't know. It doesn't matter. We'll do it somehow. Okay, their dicks are hard. They're ready to go. They're locked and loaded. They've been eating the best crayons that are readily available, not available to regular commercial consumers. These crayons that these hard dick Marines are eating are basically Blue Chew crayons. Okay, their dicks are hard. Their weapons are locked and loaded. They're ready to fucking rape and pillage. Okay, except that hasn't happened because it's virtually impossible to pull through on an operation like that without suffering significant casualties. Okay, tremendous casualties. So much so that even Donald Trump is not, pushing for it. He's saying that he wants to do this, but he's clearly hasn't, done it, right? And instead, this is the new meta. Oh, you put a blockade on the Strait of Hormuz? Well, guess what? I'm going to put a blockade on your blockade. Leaning into the fucking, leaning into the offense to begin with, leaning into the damage that the blockade is doing to the global energy markets, and only worsening that crisis in our own hands. I'm going to piss off every single motherfucker. I'm going to make the Gulf scream. I am going to make it so that the Gulf never deals with the United States of America again. Okay? I'm going to make it so that all of the Asian countries that we have developed security cooperative agreements with suffer energy grid collapses, and they will lean into China, and they will also never work with the United States of America again, absolutely gutting the security umbrella and the defensive perimeter that we've created around China. We're going to render that into nothing. Okay, we're going to turn it into dust. I'm going to do that shit because I'm fucking crazy. That's what Don Zhu is doing. That's what JD Pondon is doing. Respect JD Pondon. Okay, he is a Maoist third worldist. We got 30 minutes of oil markets open, by the way. Who knows how they will react to this? But we got the Maria Bartiromo thing. All right, let's hear what Richard Haas has to say. Okay. Why do your mods so harsh? They block for nothing burger. You do have serious issue. How does that dick taste in your mouth? My mods are champions. Okay, calm down. All right. On Hormuz, he suggested Washington tell Iran the Strait of Hormuz can be open to all, closed to all. He came up with this brilliant idea. Trump leaned into it. Crucially, Haas says if Iran refuses, the U.S. should consider blockading the Hormuz at the Gulf of Oman to stop Iranian oil exports. His view, Washington should not accept Iran's sole control over Hormuz, but also cannot realistically exclude Iran from the strait. Haas says the war has made a return to pre-war status quo impossible, and the U.S. has lost the war in a strategic and political sense. Separately, he calls on Trump to pressure Israel to stop what he describes as a discretionary war in Lebanon. Knock it off, he suggests Trump tell Netanyahu. Trump, of course, is only listening to the first part of this conversation and deciding to lean into that, and not the second part of the conversation that requires him to literally tell Israel to knock it off.
Most dependent on the passage through the strait. I would bring China into the equation because it has influence, obviously, in Trump. But we need some type of a governing authority that dilutes Iran's ability to decide who gets to use the strait. And if we can't get that, David, I would favor a blockade. Again, open for all or closed to all. Brilliant. Including Iran, and a blockade option in the Gulf of Oman.
Even if you get to a governing authority that we all agree to, it sounds like Iran's going to have a say. They're going to have a seat at the table.
100%.
It's not clear they had that before. Is that really a step backward? Because it used to be an international waterway.
You're right. And there's no return, though, to the status quo ante. I think Iran has discovered that it has more leverage than it ever quite realized before. I don't think we can walk this back. So we're going to have to bring them in. So yeah, we're going to end up here and elsewhere, probably worse off than we were 5-6 weeks ago. What we want to do, though, is limit the scale of that. And I think, again, probably the wisest course here is not to do something to Iran, but to do something with Iran, to give Iran a stake in an open Strait of Hormuz. And I think we have a chance to achieve that, but probably only if we have the pressure.
What are the chances that Trump has some pedophile shit on him and that's the reason why he's like doing whatever Israel wants? Is a question that if you were to ask me like, I don't know, like a year ago, 2 years ago, I'd be like, dude, come on. It's fucking bullshit, right? I'm not going to lie. At this point, it is so unsustainable and so transparently idiotic what Trump is doing at the behest of Israel, like so clearly that I'm no longer gonna fucking sit here and act like that's not a concern, okay? I don't know what the fuck is going on. This goes far beyond boomer philosemitism, far beyond like loyalty, ideological loyalty to Zionism. It is it's obviously completely outside of the realm of like American foreign policy and its interests, like converging or diverging with Israel's. Paired up with the whole like Melania statement, it does kind of feel like Israel is just, teasing a little bit, maybe. I don't know. I can't. It is truly, truly insane what Trump is doing right now. It doesn't make any sense. Like, what Trump should be doing right now is a strategic retreat away from the region, lean into whatever Iran's demands are, right? And then saying, look, we fucked up. Like, we definitely fucked up. We took an L. It's fine. We're going to gracefully exit this area and we're going to double down on our ambitions in our own backyard, right? Like that kind of thing. The Donroe Doctrine. Like, look how easy it was with Venezuela. 'Cause this is like, this doesn't make any fucking sense. This is so crazy. This is so much worse than Vietnam. Like as far as like how big of a defeat this is, how public of a defeat this is, what kind of impact this has had globally, because Vietnam was in Vietnam, right? And Cambodia, Laos, but overall it was like over there it didn't have this kind of major impact on the rest of the globe. Okay? This is such a different and way more public defeat than I don't think many Americans fathom. Like, I think a lot of Americans are just sleepwalking through this process. They always do. They're totally fucking oblivious to exactly what has taken place in the last 40 plus days. You obviously in this community have seen it. You've heard my commentary on it. You have experienced it in real time. But most Americans, like if you talk to your coworkers, I feel like they probably don't fully grasp how bad things are. Okay. Yeah, I don't think Americans understand how much of a crisis this is around the world. They're crying about gas prices. Meanwhile, the rest of the world has like 1 to 2 months max. Yeah, I think Americans look at this and go, oh man, we're taking a big fat L at the gas pumps, right? Taking a big fat L at the gas pumps. This sucks. But at the end of the day, we're fighting terrorists or whatever, right? Like I think the average American's assessment is like, I don't know, they're fucking brown people. They're scary. They say death to America. Trump is fucking them up. And maybe we're not like, maybe we haven't achieved our like victory condition, but like my gas prices are bad. I don't want him to do this. And now I'm increasingly believing that, he's doing this just for Benjamin Netanyahu, just for Israel. I think that's like the median voter's attitude on this issue. What is actually taking place, however, is a spectacular blow to what has made America the global hegemon, right? without the American Navy, without free commerce and free trade taking place on all seas across the board, guaranteed by the American naval assets, America's hegemonic status is called into question. That's number one. Number two, petrodollar is taking a major hit here, which has played a formative role in when tied with the naval assets and forcibly opening all the seas, is the reason why the dollar is the global reserve currency, which has given America tremendous benefits, right? We can dominate our enemies when we see fit. We can design tremendous sanctions and cripple entire markets, cripple entire countries like we've done so to Iran, many others. All of that goes away. When all of that goes away, what does America have? It's just a fucking belligerent country with a bunch of nukes, with 800 military bases that look a lot like 800 separate military incursions. Okay? This is something that I have talked about quite a bit when America was deciding to move away from soft power and going only in the direction of hard power. But I never thought that it would be this bad. I didn't realize that like defense contractor bloat and American power projection, force projection capabilities would be this diminished in comparison to a country that we've been able to destroy economically, right? I don't think Americans understand what that world looks like. I don't think they recognize that. I don't even think most Americans understand that we're losing and getting our ass beat in the Strait of Hormuz by a country that we've designed as an enemy for no fucking reason, right? We're in it. We don't recognize it. Most people don't. It will get so much worse. Telling you right now, it's going to get so much fucking worse. You'd say pedo stuff coming out would actually have an effect on Trump's image at this point. Isn't there enough mentioned in the files to infer shady things generally? Would that actual blatant evidence have enough power? Yes. I mean, these are lizard-brained cultists. Like, I'm sure it would put a dent. I'm sure that it would put a dent in the confidence that people have in Trump, right? Like, it depends on what the pedo stuff is, right? I mean, it wouldn't significantly deteriorate his base of support. Unless it's gay, maybe, and with Bill Clinton. Like I said before, if it's something that like his fans can perceive themselves of doing as well, if it's like a 14-year-old or whatever, they could probably justify it because they'd be like, oh, I'm kind of weird around my daughter's friends too, like that attitude. But if it's like, if it's like babies or if it's like, him sucking Bill Clinton's dick or something, then it's over because no Republican can foresee themselves or can put themselves in the shoes of Donald Trump doing something like that, right? Yeah, Megyn Kelly-ass mindset. They already did that. Megyn Kelly literally defended Trump potentially predating on like 14-year-olds, the 16-year-olds. Like it's gross. It's disgusting. These people are monsters. But I'm just telling you what they're. I'm telling you what they could deal with and justify, and what they couldn't justify. Anyway. In intensive talks at the highest level in 47 years, Iran engaged with the U.S. in good faith to end war. But when just inches away from Islamabad MOU, we encountered maximalism, shifting goalposts, and blockade. Zero lessons learned. Goodwill begets goodwill. Enmity begets enmity. Let's go talk with Sayed Abbas Araghchi, Foreign Minister of Iran. The war is not about... Oh, wait. Dylan Saba says, yes, it would be rational for the U.S. to make the necessary concessions for a deal now and totally foolish to continue the war. But that was also the case on February 27th when the available deal was more favorable to the U.S. than as it is now, where the key issue is... Because then and now, the key issue is ballistic missiles in Israel. Ballistic missiles with strike capabilities of hitting Israel, okay? That's been the number one thing that Israel wants to destroy, right? It's ridiculous, and no country would say yes to that, by the way, and Iran certainly saw that as a non-starter. The war is not about nukes or enrichment. It's about Iran's force projection and Israel's project of regional hegemony. What would need to change is not U.S. assessment of possible military outcomes, but U.S. willingness to disregard Israel. So far, we have no evidence of that. Yes. Straight up. I've been saying this since day one as well. I agree with this analysis. Until the United States of America says fuck off to Israel, we're not going to find a reasonable conclusion here. So it's more so about how much pressure will America withstand from the global energy crisis that it has created? How much pressure will the American government withstand from capital owners that are definitely calling him and freaking the fuck out, because they're experiencing asset loss. Sometimes Amazon warehouses, Amazon facilities are being blown up. Data centers are being blown up in the Gulf. And also, obviously, the inflation the inflation and the loss of energy transit that will significantly deteriorate manufacturing for goods and parts that are necessary for American producers all around the world. Because remember, all of that is going to China and Vietnam, India. These are the manufacturing countries, and the manufacturing countries are getting most of their oil from the Strait. So when they can't get necessary resources, then all of a sudden they can't manufacture the goods and the components necessary for global manufacturing, right? People are not factoring this into the equation at all for some strange reason when having this conversation, when Trump tries to make it seem like this is a fucking you problem, right? He'll be like, oh, well, we got all of our oil. We got all of our needs met. All right, bitch, but you don't make shit. You don't make anything. What do you think happens? What do you think happens when, sure, you got your oil needs met, you got your gas needs met, but you don't have any of the fucking components necessary for American production, necessary for the goods that are coming into the United States of America? What happens when there are shortages? It's not true. It's not even true. We get 20% from there. Yeah, I mean, we also still get, yes, it's a global commodity, and it all obviously impacts. Even though we're an exporter, we still get some oil from the Strait, if I'm not mistaken. But it doesn't matter. That's you can make up for that with overproduction, okay? You can even make, in the short term, more money for American oil refineries that will now kick into high gear the thick Venezuelan crude, thick crude from Venezuela, right? And that's probably what's happening right now. Donald Trump has talked about it, as a matter of fact. Oh, all these empty oil tankers are transiting. They're coming to the United States of America. Now we're going to be the sole oil exporter. What did I explain to you, though? What did I tell you? Yes, America has light from fracking, but now it has thick crude from Venezuela. But listen, what I told you was we do not have the refinement capacity, even with the Venezuelan thick crude coming to U.S. refineries. We currently, as it stands, do not have the refinement capacity to keep up with 20% of the entire oil supply coming from the Strait. Okay? We don't have it. And we will not have it. There is no way that we will be able to make up for the loss that the rest of the world has incurred. A loss that they don't even need to experience. A loss that we brought about to the global energy markets. Okay? Yeah, it's the fertilizers, helium for MRI machines, etc. It's not just about the oil. There's no replacing those things from other parts around the world. That too, yes. And not only that, but also the way that the the oil and gas industry operates is they're not going to fucking turn around and sell at anything less than market price. So Americans will experience inflation. Trump, we are mobilizing our ships and we have a huge fleet that we're moving to the Strait of Hormuz. The blockade will be similar to what we did to Venezuela, but at a higher level. I want everything. They have no cards. Farr says Trump joined Team Iran. The U.S. president, by threatening a military blockade on the Strait of Hormuz, dashed analysts' last hope for a drop in oil prices. Senator Mark Warner, I don't understand how blockading the Strait is somehow going to push the Iranians into opening it. I don't see the connection here. IRGC Navy Command says any misstep by the enemy in the Strait of Hormuz will place them within a zone of mortal danger. Remember, that threat is also very real. They are coming into striking distance as well. So in order to implement a blockade, they have to be in striking distance of Iranian ballistic munitions and Iranian drones, right? So I don't even know how they are going to do this without having their naval assets get bombed and experience laundry fires. American destroyers will start having laundry fires over and over again. You know? It wasn't enough that we lost so many aerial assets, so many fixed position radars. Now we got the Navy to contend with. Now we're going to lose fucking naval assets too. Fuck it, you know? Laundry fires, question mark? Well, it's a joke, chatter. I'm saying that it is, that's like what happened to USS Gerald Ford. Or at least that's what they claimed. All right. So yeah, U.S. Central Command announced Sunday it will begin a blockade of all maritime traffic entering and exiting Iranian ports at 10 a.m. Eastern time on April 13th following the collapse of peace talks in Islamabad. CENTCOM said it will not impede freedom of navigation for ships transiting the Strait of Hormuz to and from non-Iranian ports. The blockade will be enforced against vessels of all nations calling at Iranian ports on the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman, which means any ship that actually transits through the strait, because currently they have to pay a toll to Iran, will be blocked by America. Okay? The other thing that he's also talking about is blocking Chinese tankers. Iranian oil tankers that are transiting through the Strait of Hormuz unimpeded and sending tankers of oil to China. The announcement comes hours after Vice President J.D. Vance left Islamabad without a deal after 21 hours of negotiations. It's unbelievably stupid. Okay? But that's who Donald Trump is. He's an unbelievably stupid guy. So let's take a look. Now that we looked at Richard Haas's analysis as well, let's look at two different things. One, Danny Citrinowicz of Atlantic Council. He's critical of this deal, critical of this move. He says there are no easy fixes on the Iran problem. Efforts to curtail Iran's oil exports would almost certainly trigger a sharp response from Tehran, most notably attempts to disrupt or shut down traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. Such a move would send global oil prices soaring with immediate and far-reaching consequences for the international economy. A naval blockade, often discussed as an alternative, is no silver bullet. It will require U.S. forces to operate in close proximity to Iran's coastline, significantly increasing their exposure to risk. Iran's geographic scale and military capabilities mean that sustaining such an operation would demand substantial and prolonged allocation of American resources. More importantly, there is little reason to believe that blockade would force Iranian capitulation. If anything, Iran's demonstrated resilience thus far suggests the opposite, that it would absorb the pressure and respond, potentially through kinetic means, in order to reassert deterrence. You're literally putting more targets in striking distance that have the American flag on them. Iran would love that opportunity. That's precisely the reason why the IRGC has kept saying, come closer, please try to transit some oil tankers through the strait. I promise, we'll let the tanker go through. We just won't let your destroyer go through. So that's what Donald Trump is seemingly invested in doing, it doesn't make any sense at all. The likely outcome then is not a decisive breakthrough. Economic pressure on Iran would intensify, but so too would the strain on global markets and regional stability, particularly given the centrality of the Gulf to global energy flows, which raises an unavoidable question. If this approach were truly decisive, why wasn't it pursued earlier? Which is the absolute best question to ask here, because it wasn't a good idea. Because Trump, it seems, didn't put a lot of thought into this at all. And because he's run out of fucking options, he probably heard Richard Haas say it and was like, oh, well, this seems smart. Oh, fuck it. Why not? Well, now let's hear what Donald Trump had to say to Maria Bartiromo on Fox News this Sunday.
Well, we're going to be blockading. It'll take a little while, but it'll be effective pretty soon.
Oh, the full Maria Bartiromo interview is the next? Okay, let's watch this first, and then we'll get to Maria Bartiromo then.
Begin with some breaking news. The U.S. President Donald Trump has just posted on Truth Social warning Iran.
Got him.
It read, Iran promised to open the Strait of Hormuz, and they knowingly failed to do so. This caused anxiety, dislocation, and pain to many people and countries throughout the world. They say they put mines in the water, even though all of their navy and most of their mine droppers have been completely blown up. They may have done so, but what ship owner would want to take the chance? There is great dishonor and permanent harm to the reputation of Iran and what's left of their leaders. But we are beyond all of that. As they promised, they better begin the process of getting this caps lock international waterway open and fast. Every law in the book is being violated by them. I have been fully debriefed by Vice President J.D. Vance, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, and Jared Kushner on the meeting that took place in Islamabad through the kind and very competent leadership of Field Marshal Asim Munir and Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif of Pakistan. They are very extraordinary men and continuously thank me for saving 30 to 50 million lives in what would have been a horrendous war with India. I always appreciate hearing that. The amount of humanity spoken of is incomprehensible. The meeting with Iran began early in the morning and lasted throughout the night, close to 20 hours. I could go into great detail and talk about much that has been gotten, but there is only one thing that matters. Iran is unwilling to give up its nuclear ambitions. In many ways, the points that were agreed to are better than us continuing our military operations to conclusion. But all of those points don't matter compared to allowing nuclear power to be in the hands of such volatile, difficult, unpredictable people. My three representatives, as all of this time went by, became, not surprisingly, very friendly and respectful of Iran's representatives. Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, Abbas Araghchi, and Ali Bagheri. But that doesn't matter because they were very unyielding as to the single most important issue. And as I have always said right from the beginning, and many years ago, Iran will never have a nuclear weapon.
By the way, all of the conversations about the nuclear stuff is good. The reason why I say that is because, like, it's the one area where Iran actually made concessions on numerous occasions, both the JCPOA and certainly with the last negotiation that ended up with, Donald Trump attacking Iran. So the more Trump signals that that's a big red line, the better things are for reaching a manageable conclusion in this ceasefire. Okay? Because it makes me feel like that is being presented as like the big deal, right? So that there's a little bit of theater associated with it, so that it kind of feels like America fought the good fight and we're able to get the the major concession. It's not the major concession at all. Obviously, the major concession would be opening the fucking Strait of Hormuz and no longer allowing Iran to control it. But that's not going to happen because Iran controls it militarily. So the idea that like the nukes are the real problem here is I think a way for Trump to hint at what he is trying to, what he is positioning as a solid W to the American public. Now, of course, given the current conditions, this will be infinitely worse than the JCPOA from the American position. I don't personally care that it gives some much needed economic respite to Iran. I think that's a good thing. We have been starving this country for decades for no fucking reason. Holy shit, you are so annoying. Shut the fuck up. Does it make you feel bad? What stake do you have in this? If you're an American citizen, are you an American citizen? Because if the answer is yes, like, what stake do you have in this that, like, Donald Trump decided to go blow up Iran at the behest of Israel, at the behest of Netanyahu, and now the only thing that you're experiencing is just an increase in prices and potentially an inflation, potentially a crisis of inflation regardless. So, like, you didn't get anything out of this process at all. And also on top of that, the only thing that many of these fucking losers lean into, which is America's force projection capabilities, is diminished. It's gone. It's deteriorated, if not completely destroyed. It doesn't make any sense that these guys will just be like, oh, I'm so fucking mad at you for explaining to me exactly what's happening right now.
Donald J. Trump. Well, we are live in Tehran and Islamabad, where we start with our White House correspondent, Kimberly Halkett. Kimberly, I was reading that for the first time. You may have been hearing that for the first time. We know that obviously Trump was dialed in multiple times during the talks in Islamabad, but what do you make of this very, very long Truth Social post promising that the Strait of Hormuz needs to be open, that the international waterway must be opened soon and fast in caps lock, and obviously reiterating the American stance that Iran must give up its nuclear ambitions? Where do we go from here?
Well, we go to what I think is the second part of Donald Trump's very lengthy and long tweet. And correct me if I'm wrong, Neve, because I'm reading this in real time just like you, but it seemed to me there were two posts in quick succession. And the second post, or the first, I'm not sure which order it came in, but I believe the second might be even more consequential than the first about the strait being open, because it starts out, so there you have it. The meeting went well. Most points were agreed to, but the only point that mattered, nuclear, was not. Leaders are dead, he goes on to say near the end of it, in Iran, but he says Iran will not be allowed to profit off the illegal act of extortion. What he means is the blockage of the Strait of Hormuz. They want money, and more importantly, they want nuclear. Additionally, and at an appropriate moment, this is key, we are fully locked and loaded, and our military will finish up the little that is left of Iran. These are the words I think are most consequential, because the U.S. president said very, very firmly before these talks, he said that if a no deal is reached, the military was loading up.
There's something very funny about being like, Iran, how dare you extort the world? Only we get to do that, which is why we're doing that now. Okay? It's so funny. How dare you? How dare you think you can extort? This is extortion. Offering a toll off of your coastline that is a geographic choke point is extortion, which is why we will be doing that thousands of miles away from our shoreline, you know? An issue that we actually created. Once again, it's important to recognize that the Strait of Hormuz was open for business before Donald Trump decided to blow up Iran.
And would be ready to go. And so the U.S. president now has reiterated that. So this is the big fear that everyone had, is that this would just be a pause in fighting. But the U.S. president has indicated that he is ready to resume. at a time and place of his choosing. So it's obviously going to be concerning, because this is going to have ramifications that go far beyond Islamabad. The fact that the U.S. president has reiterated his threat and says he is now going to carry out and finish the job of Epic Fury, the joint operation between the United States and Israel on Iran that was started and only temporarily paused for the talks that occurred here and have resulted in no deal in Islamabad.
Kimberly, just give us a sense of the sentiment there in the wake of these high-level talks in Islamabad. Is there any perception whatsoever that there are avenues for further discussion, or is, at least when it comes to negotiations as they stand right now, have the shutters come down?
Until Donald Trump sent that post, there definitely was still the air of hope in the atmosphere here in Islamabad. Look at behind me here, or off to the side, I'm not exactly sure where in the frame the Serena Hotel is, but something historic occurred. Groups of people that have never sat face to face in decades, not since 1979, achieved that for the first time. That is being seen beyond Donald Trump as a major world diplomatic breakthrough. And we also know that there was rapport for the first time. We also know that there were teams that hung around after J.D. Vance boarded Air Force Two, along with Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, to leave Islamabad. Those people were talking at the much lower level. And the hope
Indian media is blaming Pakistan for the peace talks failing. Oh, that's so funny.
This would continue.
Oh, that's
there would
amazing.
Be some sort of shuttle-type diplomacy between the intermediary, the Pakistan, and that there would at least be able to, on the technical level, be discussions that would continue. But it's a real question now about whether or not that still stands, given the president's statements that have just come out. The U.S. president, again, making very clear, and this is something that's going to disrupt the oil markets and certainly cause energy to spike, is that he says that the one thing that mattered to the United States was making sure that Iran could never build a nuclear weapon. That was not achieved. So by all accounts, the U.S. president is saying this was a failure, even though everyone else saw the breakthrough in the discussion being a success. The U.S. president has drawn a new line saying that the U.S. military is locked and loaded and will finish up the little that is left of Iran. The threat can't be any more clear than that. And I expect that we're going to start to see the rippling ramifications, whether it's in the oil markets, whether it's in fear of escalation, is going to quickly ensue as a result of this post that really has spiked any sort of sense of hope that existed here up until moments ago.
Kimberly, we'll get the view now from Ali Hashim in Tehran on this. Ali, look, we are trying to put into context the latest Truth Social post from Donald Trump. You may have heard some of it from Kimberly Halkett there in Islamabad. It boils down to this. Trump says the US is ready to finish up Iran at a, quote, appropriate moment. We are fully locked and loaded. This, of course, off the back of a perception that the talks in Islamabad have failed. Give us a sense of what overarching message at least the Iranian negotiators are carrying back from Islamabad to their home country.
Well, the Iranian negotiators went to Islamabad saying and indicating clearly that there is a pillar of mistrust holding this tent of negotiations. And for them, what happened yesterday overnight for around 21 hours was the last possible attempt to reach a deal with the United States, though, as I told you, they went with a lot of mistrust. And the street here also holds a lot of mistrust. Now, given the fact President Trump's reaction, this is going to have its own implication also on the Iranians, because they took into consideration this is a ceasefire, this is not the end of war, and they've said this. And in the past, actually, they said they're not going for a ceasefire, they will go for an end of war, but this didn't happen. So now they're still controlling the strait. They are repeating day after day, hour after hour, that they're not opening the strait as far as the conditions they put for that aren't met. One of them is the issue of Lebanon and the ceasefire in Lebanon.
8 minutes and it's up 9%. Try to find a difference between Italy's Espresso online magazine and the Nazi Der Stürmer's depiction of Jews. I was not able to see a difference. Any Holocaust museum and scholar who is silent in the face of such anti-Semitism has forgotten the main lesson. Wait, isn't that a... Did you just... I don't want to say anything wrong here, but that's a real photo. Did this guy who is an Israel defender look at a real photo of a IDF settler harassing a Palestinian woman and said, wow, anti-Semitic cartoons much? Dude, you can't. Oh my God. What was he thinking when he said this? I mean, this is the worst version I've ever encountered of the whole, like, saying Israel kills babies is a blood libel, you know? Well, that doesn't actually end up making people question what they're seeing and decide, oh yeah, well maybe I shouldn't actually say that Israel kills babies because oh no, it's blood libel. It might come across as offensive when I'm seeing all the babies that Israel's killing. It just makes people reconsider whether blood libel is real or not. This unironically gives legitimacy to these heinous depictions, these heinous anti-Semitic depictions, when you pair them up with a real fucking photo. Another incredible moment where Israel's greatest defenders are leading to its global demise, its collapse of its approval ratings around the globe. Are you waiting for someone? Why are you so far right? I'm making a taco / wrap, Mediterranean wrap. Anyway, very cool stuff from...
Second is on freezing the assets. Now, I think we are outside this circle now. We are in a different circle now, dealing with a new situation, actually an old situation that's being renewed. The threat of war, the resumption of war. For Iran, this would mean back to business just like last week, and then no one knows how this is going to reach a new station or a new juncture where there's the possibility to talk once again. Before the war, the main issues were the nuclear issue and the ballistic issue. Now, especially in the latest talks that took place in Islamabad yesterday on this dome, the main issue was the Strait of Hormuz, an issue that wasn't on the table even.
Yeah, because it wasn't an issue at all. That is an indication that America has lost. America had a lot more leverage in the initial negotiations process. A lot more leverage, right? And then they chose to blow their load on whatever the fuck Israel's desires were, whatever Israel's design was. And they not only lost all their leverage, but now Iran has all the leverage and additional things that Iran now controls. Spectacular failure.
Few weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, what do we make of the fact that it wasn't even mentioned by J.D. Vance in this final news conference that he gave in Islamabad? I'm sure there would have been more questions put to him about that, but it wasn't among the first that were asked of him. I mean, just looking at this Truth Social post by Donald Trump in more detail, this promise to finish up Iran at an appropriate moment appears to be contingent upon the Strait of Hormuz waterway being open and open fast. Donald Trump's words. Where are we right now when it comes to Iran's leverage over the Strait of Hormuz, and whether or not in any way a compromise there might help stave off Trump promising to finish up Iran?
Well, actually, it's now clear that the epicenter of this whole conflict has shifted from the nuclear program to the Strait of Hormuz, because the Strait of Hormuz has more direct implication, not only on this region, but on the world. The weaponization of the strait by Iran created a kind of a global energy crisis that is just accumulating day after day and reaching the houses, each house in the United States, Europe, and the whole world. At the same time, this is having more implications on the region. Iranians seem, till the moment, capable of closing the strait, or at least creating a situation of managed passage, just according to whom they agree with and they disagree with. And we've seen this even yesterday, according to the maps and the programs that track the Marines. So for the Iranians, they know very well that this is their asset right now, and that's why they are insisting on continuing it. And as we've been saying before, the new Supreme Leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, mentioned the strait for now a couple of times in two statements. And that's not only a, let me say, official decree. This is becoming for the Islamic Republic a religious decree.
And we begin this Sunday morning with breaking news on the war in Iran. President Trump announcing moments ago a naval blockade of the Strait of Hormuz is beginning. Coming up in moments, President Trump will join me in an exclusive interview to give us the very latest on the war on Iran, as high-level talks between the United States and Iran have concluded with no deal. It was the first direct talks between the two countries in a decade, and the highest-level talks between the two since the Islamic Revolution in 1979. The talks beginning on Saturday and lasting 21 hours in Islamabad, Pakistan. Vice President J.D. Vance was in Pakistan leading the U.S. delegation, along with Jared Kushner and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, as a fragile ceasefire has been underway between the two sides since Tuesday, after President Trump agreed to give Iran 2 more weeks to open up the Strait of Hormuz or face further destruction. Now the president will implement a naval blockade on the strait. Here's Vice President J.D. Vance after the talks in Islamabad this morning.
We have been at it now for 21 hours, and we've had a number of substantive discussions with the Iranians. That's the good news. The bad news is that we have not reached an agreement, and I think that's bad news for Iran much more than it's bad news for the United States of America.
Joining me now live on the telephone with the very latest is the nation's 45th and 47th President of the United States, President Donald J. Trump. Mr. President, thank you so much for being with me this morning. I know that your time is limited, and we appreciate you making the time to explain all of this to our audience. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Maria.
Mr. President, can you explain to us what is going on right now with the blockade in the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, we're going to be blockading. It'll take a little while, but it'll be effective pretty soon. And we had meetings yesterday. They, as you said, lasted 21 hours. That was a long meeting. We had some very, very good representatives, as you know, J.D. and Steve and Jared. So we were well represented, but we didn't get there on the important issue. They want to have nuclear weapons. They're not going to have nuclear weapons. I've been saying that for 30 years. I would never allow that to happen before I was in politics. And that country will not have nuclear weapons. Most countries shouldn't be allowed to have, but that country will not have nuclear weapons.
Not
So, Mr.
Israel.
President, was that the red line there? Can you explain to us what went on in these talks? What
Dude, Maria Bartiromo looks fucking insane, dog. Every time I see her, she looks more crazy.
did the United States ask of Iran, and how did they react?
Well, they reacted. You know, it was very interesting. It
Yes,
started
JD's
off
on Ozempic.
weak. They came in like they had the cards, but they don't have the cards. Their army, their whole military is obliterated. The whole place is obliterated. And, you know, as you know, levels of leaders are gone. They're literally gone. Khomeini.
I mean, this don't make sense, right? If that was the case, you wouldn't be doing a double blockade. You would reduce the number of blockades to 0, not double the number of blockades that exist in the region, right? Like, clearly, if the Iranian Navy capabilities have been significantly deteriorated, there'd be 0 blockades right now.
He's gone. The whole thing is gone. The whole place is gone. They have one thing that they can do. They can say, well, gee, we're going to put a mine someplace just a mine. We'll drop 1 mine, 2 mines, 10 mines. And that will, if you have a ship that costs $1 billion, you say, well, you know.
Where is this? I don't know why we have to condemn Trump's threat of destroying civilian infrastructure and a civilization if Iran's whole tactic has been targeting civilian infrastructure. Can I ban Neek Skit? Literally saying attacking civilians is wrong, man. Wait, what? Who do you think between Iran and the United States of America was targeting civilian infrastructure more and first and killed a shit ton more civilians? Look at the whole convo before. No, answer my question. Who started the war? Through perfidy, which is, you know, illegal. Who started the war after a round of negotiations where the Iranians, before this war, decided not to, before the war started, decided to basically give in to all the demands. Condemn that as well. Okay, there's nothing else to condemn then. That was horrible. Doing war crimes first doesn't justify the other ones after. That's Israel's argument as well, and it's wrong. Dude, what the fuck are you talking about? What are you actually talking about? What the fuck is Iran supposed to do, buddy? Would you be fine if Iran blew up American military bases on the United States homeland? You know what I mean? Iran is implementing a blockade, which is perfectly reasonable for them to do so. And on top of that, they are implementing a toll system, which is not even a blockade any longer, but instead of a way for them to retrieve revenues that they've lost because America unjustifiably chose to sanction them. To say this in the eve of America also saying, instead of negotiating with Iran and allowing commerce to go through this strait, we're going to do a double blockade instead, is extra stupid. You're why us third world chatters hate your asses. I mean, that's an exceptionally stupid person. That's an exceptionally stupid person who is behaving like a baby who doesn't understand anything. Like they're like, oh, I don't understand. Like, why is Iran not fighting and abiding by the rules that we are violating when we're attacking Iran? Unbelievably stupid statement. The fuck are they supposed to do, man? They're trying to do their very best to continue their sovereignty after they've been unjustifiably and illegally attacked by not one, but two countries. One of those two countries wants to completely destroy it. America, for far too long, has decided might makes right. Well, that was all good as long as there was no military that had the capacity to say, I bet. Iran clearly does. And they are capable of engaging in asymmetric warfare. Iran is the victim here. Iran is the wrong party here. And they have every fucking right to fight back, to maintain their sovereignty. Okay? You can't destroy the rules and violate them with regular frequency and then cry to the fucking referee when you killed the referee. We are the reason why the referee's dead. And in spite of that, Iran has been unbelievably restrained in its retaliatory strikes, only going up the escalation ladder when America goes up the escalation ladder. You should be begging. You should be on your hands and knees thanking Allah and Ali that they're not behaving in the way that Israel behaves. It's totally ridiculous. Imagine if Iran treated the Gulf states in the same way that Israel treats Iran, in the same way that Israel has treated Lebanon, in the same way that Israel has treated Gaza. All of those Gulf states that went and got American military bases, thinking that that wouldn't, at any given point, turn the crosshairs on them, who are now complaining that Iran is even striking back. All of those countries are a turkey shoot, if necessary. If Iran wanted to behave like Israel, Iran could literally exclusively kill civilians in the Gulf states. They have not done so. Israel is still deliberately targeting civilian infrastructure. Iran has only retaliated by targeting civilian infrastructure like desalination plants after Israel or America has struck its civilian infrastructure. There is no both sides are bad when our side is the party that's doing the wrong. I cannot believe it. I can't believe that there's still people saying this shit. Sorry, just read a Guardian article where now people are saying horizontal escalation, targeting civilians as a tactic works, and I hated how this is being normalized by all sides. I got triggered, basically. Okay. Then demand to literally restrain and perhaps dissolve the current Israeli state. Because if there's one country that has wiped its fucking ass with all of those previous rules and still continues to do so, it's the United States of America and it's Israel. It's especially Israel. All right? You can't destroy the rules and violate them over and over again and then not expect similar violations to take place once you have violated those rules against a country that's willing to fight back. Totally ridiculous.
I prefer not getting whacked by a mine, losing my ship, or damaging it badly, at least. And so that's a little bit of a thing that they can do, and that it's military might and military power don't do it, but, you know, it's extortion, and they're extorting the world. You know, we don't get our oil from there. We have so much, we have, and one thing you said, and I don't know if anybody heard it well, but we have boats pouring up to the United States. They'll be filling them up, and they'll be leaving, and they're going to be packed with the best oil you can get, light, sweet crude. They're going to have the best oil that you can get. But so that's interesting, and it's great because we have a lot of oil. We don't get any. I mean, literally last year it was 1%. We did that as a favor. We don't need the Strait. But other countries do. And I will tell you, while we're on the subject, we're very disappointed with NATO. We're very, very disappointed that they didn't come. Now they want to come and they want to help with the Strait, and it won't take long to clean it out. So we're going to clean out the Strait, and they'll be able to use the Strait in not too long a distance. But we had a very intensive negotiation, and toward the end it got very friendly, and we got just about every point we needed, except for the fact that they refused to give up their nuclear ambition. And that's the only point, frankly, to me. That was the most important point by far.
And I want to ask you about that, and I will get to NATO as well. But, Mr. President, you wrote on Truth Social this morning saying that we will begin the process of blockading any and all ships trying to enter or leave the Strait of Hormuz. And at some point, we will reach an all being allowed to go in and all being allowed to go out basis. Right. So tell us what you're trying to accomplish with this blockade,
all in,
sir.
All out. Yep. It's called all in and all out. There'll be a time when we'll have them all come.
It's so funny. He just like directly copies shit that he sees on his timeline. I mean, I guess it's cutting out the middleman in some respects, because in the past, like, what is this? Iranian MP who attended the Islamabad talks. America was not seeking an arrangement. Yeah, we'll cover that. Hold on. I know. In the past, you would have like FDD send the talking points to the White House, and the White House would like put it in their own language. Now they just copy and paste that shit. In the past, you would have a guy like Richard Haass have meetings with Trump's analysts, and then they would communicate these points to Donald Trump. Now he just sees it on his timeline and just like repeats it, and then it becomes official policy. Fantastic.
And we had meetings yesterday. They, as you said, lasted 21 hours. That was a long meeting. We had some very, very good representatives, as you know, JD and Steve and Jared. So we were well represented, but we didn't get there on the important issue. They want to have nuclear weapons. They're not going to have nuclear weapons. I've been saying that for 30 years. I would never allow that to happen before I was in politics. And that country will not have nuclear weapons. Most countries shouldn't be allowed to have, but that country will not have nuclear weapons. Well, they reacted. You know, it was very interesting. It started off weak. They came in like they had the cards, but they don't have the cards. Their army, their whole military is obliterated. The whole place is obliterated. And, you know, as you know, levels of leaders are gone. They're literally gone. Khomeini's gone. The whole thing is gone. The whole place is gone. They have one thing that they can do. They can say, well, gee, we're going to put a mine someplace just a mine. We'll drop 1 mine, 2 mines, 10 mines. And that will, if you have a ship that costs $1 billion, you say, well, you know, I prefer not getting whacked by a mine, losing my ship or damaging it badly, at least. And so that's a little bit of a thing that they can do. That it's military might and military power don't do it, but, you know, it's extortion. And they're extorting the world. You know, we don't get our oil from there. We have so much oil. We have, and one thing you said, and I don't know if anybody heard it well, but we have boats pouring up to the United States. They'll be filling them up, and they'll be leaving, and they're going to be packed with the best oil you can get. Light, sweet crude. They're going to have the best oil that you can get. But so that's interesting, and it's great because we have a lot of oil. We don't get any. I mean, literally last year it was 1%. We did that as a favor. We don't need the Strait. But other countries do. And I will tell you, while we're on the subject, we're very disappointed with NATO. We're very, very disappointed that they didn't come. Now they want to come and they want to help with the Strait, and it won't take long to clean it out. So we're going to clean out the Strait, and they'll be able to use the Strait in not too long a distance. But we had a very intensive negotiation, and toward the end it got very friendly, and we got just about every point we needed, except for the fact that they refused to give up their nuclear ambition. And that's the only point, frankly, to me. That was the most important point by far.
Tell us what you're trying.
Remember, absolutely the worst possible person to ask about anything that took place, not only because he wasn't there, but even if he was there, he would have still lied, obviously. I need you to understand, Trump is the least reliable party to genuinely comprehend what's going to happen next, okay? He does not know what the fuck's going on. He doesn't know what he's going to say next. He's an absolute lunatic. He has no idea what's happening. Yeah. U.S. will maybe strike back. Wall Street Journal. Oh, nice. In the last hour, Hezbollah's bombed Nahariya and fired 2 swarms of drones at northern settlements. Hadashot Bezmen, 2 helicopters landed at Ishilov Hospital in the last hours. They're hinting at another security incident. Oh my God, Hezbollah is smoking the Israeli invaders. It's crazy. Reuters, senior U.S. Official says Iran rejected demands to stop funding its allies across the Middle East, Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, and to halt uranium enrichment. IRGC, the approach of military ships to the Strait of Hormuz under any pretext is a violation of the ceasefire, and we will deal with them firmly. Israeli platform, the Home Front Command, is currently convened in an emergency discussion. Wall Street Journal says Trump and his advisor looking at resuming limited military strikes in Iran, in addition to the U.S. blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, as a way to break a stalemate in the peace talks. Dude, this is not how you do peace talks, man. This is not how you, like, we have to, oh my God. We only know hegemon status for like the last 50 years almost. Certainly for the last 40, right? So this is how we operate, where we're just like, oh, dude, we're having a ceasefire talk. Well, it's fine. You just fucking blow them up during the process. That's not how it works, man. What a delusional way to operate. Like, it's so stupid. You can't. I want to have a conversation with someone in this admin to be like, what the fuck are you guys thinking? Like, this only works if you have the cards, right? Like, if you're actually winning and you want to be a piece of shit, you know, the way that, like, for example, Israel operates this way against the Palestinian population. Oh, you want to do a ceasefire? Okay, let's do a ceasefire. You cease, we fire, right? But that is a paramilitary formation comprised of, you know, the orphan children that have resisted against an apartheid state that's doing a genocide. Like, that's a very different, that's an ascetic force, right? Very different than sovereign nation versus sovereign nation warfare. You can't do this to Iran if you are not winning. And the very fact, what? The campaign against you is so big and out of control that now I'm seeing people hallucinate that you're running for office and asking for money for your campaign and texting emails. This is a wild new narrative. No shot. What? So awesome. I swear to God, Hasanabi derangement syndrome is a mass psychosis event, dude. Austin Ox was just making a joke. Wait, no, no, that cooked me, isn't it? He's running in 2030. He told me, put on your calcium polymer. Come on, Austin Ox. You can't be doing that, man. You cannot be doing that. There's like psychos out there, brother. What the fuck? Butter. This brings me back to the famous adage, bombing for peace is like fucking for virginity. Yeah. It's just the only speed America knows, though. Gonna be honest, I thought they would have started asking for money in their quest against you. Ooh, another shadow tanker that arrived at RAF Mildenhall with heavy shrapnel damage visible across the aircraft. Damn, they fucking peppered that bad boy. God damn. I thought these guys had nothing. This is just one example of a few I've seen. In this clip, what is this? They did this in 2016 and 2024. This is Michigan. I don't understand why these assholes getting free airtime. I don't understand why these assholes getting free airtime for the fucking bullshit. They run as Dems but hate Dems. John Fetterman. And yet his campaign texts and email Dem voters and beg for money. Wait, what? Hassan Piker isn't running for office. Are you okay? What campaign texts and emails? Are you hallucinating your own reality? No, this is just like one person. This is... They gave that bird the Dick Cheney? True. I mean, this is Threads, you know, we're grasping for straws here. One person who's insane on Threads is not exactly, is not exactly indicative of like a mass hallucination event. Anyway, this is this is interesting. Yeah, it's birdshot. Birdshot, that's what it is. Or bird strikes. They just hate the shadow tankers. Total leftist victory. They give you a full bipartisan attack and it did nothing. It didn't do nothing. It actually boosted my profile with a whole deal of liberals that heard what people were saying about me, tuned in to hear what I was actually saying, and realized, oh, they're just attacking this guy for no fucking reason. Mi vag Yonk Majar Peter. The Hungarians are going crazy in the chat today. Liberals did Iran war to you? Yeah. What makes Trump incapable of a deal is whatever he was feeling beforehand. He assumes anyone close to making a deal with him to be a sucker and immediately pushes for more. That's actually not wrong. Yeah, he does. Because he fucks people all the time. He fucks people over in every deal. And that's the only way he can that's the only way he will be satisfied with a deal, right? So he thinks, oh, these guys want to come to the table. That must mean that they have no cards. Because he's a fucking idiot. That could be part of it. The AOC, what? Hit pieces are coming out. Axios. AOC wrestles with left-wing Dems. In private, Ocasio-Cortez is fumed about the criticism, believing it's unfair and counterproductive for the progressive movement. On one liberal strategist told Axios AOC's lamented that the left was not there for her, that they are never pleased. Oh, God. They're trying to rat fuck. I don't think this stuff will work. Because I think AOC will capture, I think AOC will unironically capture the entirety of the left. Okay? Like, there will be obviously naysayers, there will be some ultras, but if AOC chose to run, it would be... J Street Press said some crazy shit today on X. What did J Street President say? Yeah, she unites the libs. She unites the libs, and she definitely has most of the backing. For every anarchist we lose in the country, we gain 2 to 3 wine mom, Barbaras, and Debras in the suburbs. On the countryside. Yeah, it's true. Anarchists living in the countryside. That's funny. The time. Why is this so dark? This clip is so dark. I don't know what's happening. She said the exact opposite of this at the DSA event, by the way. Yeah, because she's fake. Anyway, Wall Street Journal, Trump and his advisors are looking at resuming limited military strikes in Iran in addition to U.S. blockade as a way to break the stalemate in peace talks. Awesome. According to officials and people familiar with the situation, Israel Hayom, 2 more soldiers wounded in battle with Hezbollah. CENTCOM's new blockade of Iranian ports begins in 16 hours. Reuters, futures contracts for Brent crude jump up to $102, $2.60 per barrel. U.S. crude hits $105.25 per barrel. Nice. We fucked ourselves. We shot ourselves in the foot and totally fucked ourselves in the process. Things are going spectacular. Things are going swimmingly well. Okay, trust.
Come in and all come out, but it won't be a percentage. It won't be a friend of yours, like a country that's your ally or a country that's your friend. It's all or nothing, and that won't be in too long a distance. No, we're just bringing the ships up. We got a lot of ships, so we're bringing them up. We think that numerous countries are going to be helping us with this also, but we're putting on a complete blockade.
I was watching the other clip that has like all the best notes.
Trying to accomplish with this blockade,
all in,
sir.
All out. Yep. It's called all in and all out. There'll be a time when we'll have them all come in and all come out, but it won't be a percentage. It won't be a friend of yours, like a country that's your ally or a country that's your friend. It's all or nothing, and that won't be in too long a distance. No, we're just bringing the ships up.
Not been following it as closely. Can you explain to those people why it was critical for the United States to go into Iran? Can you articulate what was behind that move that was so important for the U.S. to go into Iran?
Yeah, so easy. The easiest question you've asked me so far. They can't have nuclear weapons. They have nuclear. They want to enrich what they have. They want to enrich more. As you know, we knocked out with the B-2 bombers. Had we not knocked that out, they would have had a nuclear weapon within 1 month after we knocked out. In other words, had the B-2s, those beautiful B-2 bombers, totally obliterated their 3 sites. They have 3 sites. And they are now deep in the earth with, tons of rock. Now, that material should be gotten, but we have cameras on it. We have satellites with Space Force. That was one of my beauties, Space Force. So important. Beauties. But we're watching those. We're watching every single aspect of that area. They can't move without us knowing exactly what's going on. But it's deep down, and it takes a long time to get it out. It's an amazing attack. Had we not done that, they would have had, within 1 month from that date, they would have had a nuclear weapon.
Right.
If they had a nuclear weapon, they would have used it on Israel and the Middle East. Look, they went after 5 countries that were sort of neutral, I guess. I don't know how friendly they were, but they weren't in the line of attack. They dropped on UAE probably 1,800 missiles. They dropped on Saudi Arabia a lot, and they dropped on Qatar a lot. They dropped on Bahrain. They went crazy. And everyone was surprised. Actually, it was good for us because they all joined us immediately, at some point. I mean, they're either going to be petrified or they're going to join. They all joined, and they've been very helpful. All of these countries have been great, and Kuwait.
And this is the key point that I was getting to, and the reason that you feel they cannot have a nuclear weapon, because they will use it. And that's what I wanted you to explain to the audience.
Yeah, I think they would use it. And they'd start with Israel, and one weapon would, do damage like nobody's ever seen. Wipe it out. Conceivably, big one.
Now,
wipe it out. They don't need more than one. And then they go after the Middle East, and then they'd eventually come years. I've had to listen to them say, "Death to America," right? They say, "Death to America, death to Israel, America, the Satan. We will destroy America, death to America." Now, does anybody ever complain to you when they say that? I think that's a big step worse. Death to America. So they're allowed to say death to America. And what I'm referring to is, when I talk about civilization, it'll be much different because their military will be totally gone. It's pretty much gone now. But their military, look at their leadership. We have had regime change because the people we dealt with yesterday were, frankly, very smart, very sharp, very good, very good. I think they were smarter than the people from before, Khomeini and that group. Because look what it got them. Look what they're.
May Allah awaken the people and help them to see the evil doings of Israel and the United States.
All of their antics was spending trillions of. They spent
New soundboard
all
unlocked.
their money on weapons. We've destroyed most of those weapons. But, you know, when I say about a civilization, it really has changed. It really has. But think of it. They're allowed to say death to America, death to this, death to... And I make one statement, they say, oh, such a big deal. Let me tell you, that statement got them to the bargaining table, and they haven't left. They have...
That's so funny. Dog, you begged them to come to the bargaining table, and then you retreated because it was an insane thing to say. It's so funny. It's just like, this is upside down land, you know?
Haven't left the bargaining table. I predict they come back and they give us everything we want. And I told my people, I want everything. I don't want 90%. I don't want 95%. I told them, I want everything.
Well, and what they
have
want...
no cards, Maria.
Yep.
They have no cards. Their Navy is gone. Their Air Force is gone, totally gone. They have nothing. They have no ships. 158 ships are at the bottom of the sea. Good ones, new. The Soleimani, they had one called the Soleimani, was taken out by one of our Tiger Sharks, by one of our rapidly moving submarines. It's amazing. Our military is so good. Do you know our military is a 94% approval rating now?
Well,
Congress has a 14%. The media has a 12%. When I started, the media had a 92% approval rating. Now they're down to 14%.
Wow.
And I'm very proud of it because they're very dishonest. They fired at us one day at a certain asset that we have, namely the aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln, one of the beauties of the world, one of the great beauties of the world. They fired 101 missiles out of 100. These things are going more than 2,000 miles an hour. And out of 101 missiles, 101 were shot down like nothing and are now at the bottom of the sea, the remnants of them. Think of it, 101 missiles shot. In a short period of time, all 101 were knocked out. So we have the greatest military equipment. We have the greatest people. We have the strongest military in the world by far, and everybody sees it, whether it's Venezuela or what we've done with Iran. And when I read, the fake news, talking about how well Iran's doing, they're not doing well at all. They're getting killed.
I mean, clearly he's seeing stuff, right? Because one question that I had always was like, are his handlers just like showing him successful strikes and convincing him that the situation is fantastic, right? He obviously is seeing the negative news coverage. That is not even like negative news coverage really, but it's just like accurately looking at the events and recognizing that America has not achieved any of its military objectives here. So maybe he saw the AI Lego videos. He's like, fake news. They're doing Lego videos. They're making me look crazy. I don't like it. I've seen it. Everyone's talking about the Lego videos.
I could take out Iran in one day. I could take down in 1 hour. I could have their entire energy, everything, every one of their plants, their electric generating plants, which is a big deal. And I hate to do it because if I do it, it takes you 10 years to rebuild. They'll never be able to rebuild it. And the other thing you take out are the bridges. I took out one just to show them because they went public with a statement that wasn't true. They admitted it. I say, I'm going to take out a bridge. And I took out a bridge. And that was the end of that. Now they've been really behaving quite well. But in one half of a day, they wouldn't have one bridge standing. They wouldn't have one electric generating plant standing. And they're back in the Stone Ages. I'd rather not do that. But I do believe they're going to come to the table on this because nobody can be so stupid as to say that we want to have nuclear weapons and they have no cards. They have no cards whatsoever. People in other countries are getting hurt. One of the things that most amazes me, though, the Strait is for Japan, where they get 93% of their oil. You know that.
Yeah. I love that he's making it seem like he's doing them. He's making it seem like he's doing them a favor, like everybody else. Bro, you fucked it. You got to fix it. Okay? You had the opportunity to fix it, and you decided, no, I'm going to fuck it further. If Japan wasn't one of the most cucked countries on the planet right now, I'm sure they would have a strong response to these kinds of statements, but that's not the Japan. That's not the Japan that I know.
Japan. South Korea gets 45% of its oil. These people haven't helped us. I say, are you guys going to help? And, you know, we have 45,000 soldiers and 50,000, respectively, at those two places. 45 and 50,000 soldiers. We guard them and protect them. And when we want a little help, they don't help us. And when we wanted help from NATO, they don't help us. And we paid, I don't know if you saw, almost $1 trillion toward NATO in a very...
Yeah, why do you need help, bro? You're winning. I don't get it. Meanwhile, there was obviously the Iranian side of this conversation, which was, of course, the exact opposite of what the Americans were stating took place in the conversations. From what I understand, wait, there's another clip that I missed here. Do you believe the price of oil and gas will be lower before the midterm elections? Let's hear what Donald Trump had to say.
So do you believe the price of oil and gas will be lower before the midterm elections?
I hope so. I mean, I think so. It could be.
Ooh, that's not great. You know what I'm saying? That's not fucking. I hope so. You don't want to hear that from the president.
It could be or the same or maybe a little bit higher, but it should be around the same. I think this won't be that much longer. They're wiped out, man. They're wiped out. And
yeah, that was a couple hours ago. It's gone up $5 on both, so $10 on one actually. So this graphic that you're looking at was a much nicer graphic. So that's not the case any longer. Congratulations to Donald Trump. That was pretty cool. Plus 10. Add plus 10 onto that bad boy. Okay.
You don't get a fair shake. You don't get. You know, we need a free and fair press in this country, and I don't even know why people would do that. Why would they say?
Quick update on the Strait of Hormuz, says Clown Girl Autism. I've decided to also blockade it. So when you talk about the status of the Strait, please say that it is blockaded by Iran, the United States of America, and Clown Girl Autism. Thanks. Okay, you got it. Officially, I'm blockading it too. Fuck it. Why not? We're all blockading it now.
How wonderful they're doing militarily. They're doing so well. The country is wiped out. We lost one airplane, and we captured the two pilots. They all said...
Yeah. The sad part about it for the Hasanabi heads, just so you understand, is that I think since Fox News can't cover the actual events that are taking place because it's devastating, I get ready for the most evil smear campaign that they focus on myself, this community, candidates that I align with. Like, it's probably we're back to at least another week of Hasanabi Piker coverage on Fox News, I suspect. You know?
You said the other day that any country that supports Iran and sends military equipment to Iran will face a 50% tariff if they try to bring products. Did you refer to...
Maria, calm down. Calm down, Maria. Why are you... Maria's losing it, bro. She is fucking losing it. She mad.
China. Did you mean China?
Yes, and other people, but yes, China too.
Okay.
If we find that China, because I hear news reports, so a news report doesn't mean much to me because they're so fake, but I hear news reports about China giving the shoulder missiles, what's called a shoulder missile, anti-aircraft missile. I doubt they would do that, because I have a relationship, and I think they wouldn't do that. But maybe they did a little bit at the beginning, but I don't think they would anymore. No. But if we catch them doing that, they get a 50% tariff, which is that's a staggering amount.
You said the other.
Wow. Iran has 174 million barrels of oil in floating storage. A blockade won't touch it. Before the war began, Iran preloaded tankers at 3 times its normal export rate. As of late March, approximately 174 million barrels of Iranian oil sat in floating storage, 158 million barrels of crude, the rest in petroleum products, per maritime intelligence firm Windward. Over 90% is bound for China, carried largely by Ghost Fleet tankers running dark. 129 tankers linked to Iranian crude are currently sailing dark, Windward reported. A U.S. naval blockade of Iranian ports won't intercept oil already at sea. Here's where it's located. At least 15 Iran-flagged tankers were observed by satellite near the Chabahar port on Iran's southeastern coast as of April 6, laden with crude, according to UANI, which tracks Iranian shipping. At least 96 Iranian oil-laden tankers have been recorded at a Ghost Fleet anchorage approximately 70 kilometers off the Malaysia's coast near Johor, UANI reported, where cargo is transferred ship to ship before heading to Chinese ports. Damn, bro, we're just leaking it. Yo, keep it a secret, drop site. What the hell? Dozens more are transiting the Malacca Strait and South China Sea towards China with tracking signals off. Iran is also holding roughly 23 million barrels of crude east of the U.S. toll line in the Gulf of Oman, a map circulating on Chinese social media, according to tanker trackers. Yeah. Mortaza says the U.S. was so anxious to defray the economic impact of the war that it actually unsanctioned not just Russian, but Iranian oil to help stabilize global markets. Now it's apparently going to impose a blockade on that same oil, which will accelerate the crisis and may even trigger an even more devastating Red Sea blockade. This won't even affect Iran in the short term, since they still have large numbers of tankers already offshore that can sell oil for the next 40 days. But it is going to extend the blockade on all other Persian Gulf states while annihilating every other country on Earth that relied on maritime energy shipping from the region. The whole U.S.-led international order, based on protecting maritime transit, is going to be a smoking crater at the end of the massively unforced error that was this war, and for what purpose exactly? There was more on China. China can send their ships to us.
All of these efforts and the impact on China, what you've done in Venezuela, Iran, even your comments about Cuba, where does that put China as you approach this meeting with Xi Jinping next month?
Sure. Well, in the maximum campaign, you can't do any more maximum. We've wiped out their whole country, essentially. The only thing left, really, is their water, which would be very devastating to hit. I would hate to do it. But it's their water, their desalinization plants, their electric generating plants, which are very easy to hit. We could hit them.
She said, what about China? And Trump just goes back to... She said, what about China? And Trump immediately was, well, we'll just fucking do the Holocaust of the Iranians. You know, we'll just keep wiping them out, honestly. Okay, great. Thank you.
We could have them all down. And I mean, down like you couldn't have electricity for 10 years because it takes you 10 years to build those plants from scratch. You'd never probably be able to build them again. And the bridges. So that's really the only thing. We still have some more missile manufacturing plants. We know every one of them. We'll do that. We still have other things. But when you talk about maximum, I think, outside of those few things that are remaining, I think I pretty much maxed out. You are very, very violent and vicious.
We're just publicly planning war crimes now, buddy. We've been doing that. That's a Trump one thing, and it's certainly accelerated in Trump too. It certainly got worse in Trump too. I mean, it's reached its apex. It certainly reached its apex a couple days ago when Trump said, "I'm just gonna do a full blown. I'm gonna do full blown like nuclear. I'm gonna destroy the Iranian civilization."
I don't want to have you against me. I'll tell you what you say. I think we pretty much maxed out, other than those few items. And we still have some plants left. You know, we had another week left to knock out the rest of the plants, but we were knocking them out fast. As far as China is concerned, China can send their ships to us. China can send their ships to Venezuela. We told them, buy from Venezuela. We have a lot of overcapacity. We'd sell them, and we'll probably sell it for even less money. I have a very good relationship with President Xi of China. We work together very well. They're paying us substantial money, as you know. We've never got money before. You know, I listened to this Gordon Chang. He has no idea what he's talking about. We have been very tough on China. Tough but fair.
He's mad at Gordon Chang. Oh, that's awesome. Gordon Chang is like the #1 anti-China war hawk, Chinese dissident guy. So that's just pretty funny. Pretty funny that he's shitting on his own boy, you know?
And, you know, it's an amazing place. But I have a very good relationship with China, and they've been during my, you know, I put tremendous tariffs. I put 100% tariff on all Chinese cars coming in, and that's destroying Europe. They're destroying Europe because they're taking away so much business from Mercedes and BMW, etc. And we don't have any Chinese cars in our country because they would have destroyed General Motors, Ford. They would have destroyed these companies if they did it. So I put 100% tariff on, and in all fairness to Biden, he allowed it to stay on, which is shocking to me.
Right.
It's one of the things, it's about the only thing he did good, but he allowed it to stay. So we don't have the problem.
Yeah, he don't got shit on China, okay? But the other side of the story that I wanted to talk about before we get to the Pod John's conversation that took place on Friday morning, that was released this morning, and it's actually reaching a lot of liberals, and the reception has been rather positive. Iranian MP who attended Islamabad talks says America was not seeking an arrangement. Mahmoud Nabavian, deputy chairman of Iran's Parliamentary Security Commission and a member of the Iranian delegation in Islamabad, said the U.S. entered the talks without genuine intent to reach a deal. In a now deleted post on X, Nabavian said Washington made 3 demands that Iran rejected: a shared stake with the Islamic Republic in the benefits of the Strait of Hormuz, the removal of enriched uranium from Iran, and the suspension of Iran's right to enrich uranium for 20 years. The reality is, I think they just had no ambitions of you know, reaching a manageable conclusion, right? They did not have any, like, they wanted to spoil the deal regardless. This suggests that Trump once again misinterpreted the IRI's willingness to negotiate a deal as a sign of weakness. So with the encouragement of the enraged/humiliated foreign policy establishment in Israel lobby, he flipped the board thinking he can scare up a better deal. So most likely what took place, right? That's definitely what's going on here, where they begged Iran to come to the table. Iran came to the table and they were like, ha! How weak of them to come to the table. How stupid. They must be. Hi, Hassan. My 76-year-old mom, and I love the broadcast. Mom says hi. Keep up the good work. Hell yeah. They were like, oh, who would be dumb enough? Who would be stupid enough to do a deal with us after we said we're gonna destroy you? Stupid. and then they blew it up. I do think that it was Israel that obviously didn't want this deal to go through at all in any way, shape, or form. So, yeah, what's really is American jingoism really this unstoppable? I don't really understand how American society can be like this, even if you manufacture consent. Trump was elected in part because people were tired of foreign interventionism, yet it seems like the base is evaporated. What's really going on is that they're burning every ounce of political capital Trump had for the benefit of Israel. It's hard to wrap your head around because something like this has never happened this fast and to this degree. The polls are apocalyptic. No sane political movement with any agency of its own would ever behave this way, whether it's blackmail, bribery, threats of violence, or whatever. It couldn't be more obvious. It's like a mass sacrifice. You look at the Trump approval trend among white non-college voters, which is the heart of the base, right? And it went from, in February 2025, plus 32, to September 2025, plus 26, to February at plus 10, and now in April, There's a net 40-point negative swing at -4. This is literally white non-college voters is the Trump base. So one of the things that I've been thinking about quite a bit with like some of the polls that are coming out that show like MAGA is 100% on board is that I wonder if pollsters are not accurately targeting the loss of people who self-identify as Republican. Because some of this stuff doesn't add up, right? When I see this, but then I also see Republicans at 85 for Trump's overall approval, 85 for Trump's attacks on Iran, I think to myself, there's got to be an inconsistency here. There's got to, like, something doesn't add up. I wonder if the pollsters are only going to, like, you know, some of the more resilient Republicans and not adjusting well enough. That poll, Harry Amden said MAGA identification overall has only gone down by 2%. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe people, I'm not even talking about MAGA. I'm talking about Republican. Maybe self-IDing as a Republican has gone down, but I don't know. It could be the case. I think it makes sense if people who self-ID as MAGA still continue to self-ID as MAGA, but perhaps a lot of people who self-ID as Republican are no longer self-identifying as Republican.